Even now, there's no shortage of intrigue surrounding the upcoming midterm elections. Look no further than the success of Republican Scott Brown in liberal Massachusetts, or the rise of Tea Party activists. And today in Florida, another example of the shifting sands, as my co-anchor Terry Moran reports in the Nightline interview.
Meet the political phenomenon of the moment.
I wanted to show them where the center of the political universe is, man. This is it, isn't it?
Marco Rubio.
Delighted. Took it on.
Baby-faced, 38 years old, son of poor Cuban immigrants, and today the giant killer of American politics.
Your opponent, the sitting governor of the state, is going to leave the party because of what you've been able to accomplish. That's got to feel a little good.
Well, all I know is I've always believed the Republican Party is the logical home of the free enterprise limited government movement, and that's what I've campaigned on.
A year ago, as he got into the race for senator from Florida,
today is the beginning of a conversation with you as I consider running for the United States Senate.
Marco Rubio was a long shot, a true underdog, more than 30 points behind the polished rising star of the Florida GOP, the sitting governor, Charlie Crist. But today, after tangling with Rubio, Charlie Crist cried uncle.
My decision to run for the United States Senate as a candidate without party affiliation.
With Crist now running as an independent, the Florida Senate race is a drum-tight three-way free-for-all, with Rubio and Crist just in front of Democratic Congressman Kendrick Meek.
Washington is broken, and too many politicians don't get it.
Rubio chased Crist out of the GOP with a hard-edged, anti-Washington conservative message. A message perfectly crafted to ride the rising anger of the Tea Party movement. And laced through it all is his family's inspiring immigrant story.
What's good?
I mean, do you want to eat healthy or you want to eat good?
No, I want to eat good.
We sat down for lunch with Marco Rubio at a Miami institution, Little Havana's Versailles restaurant, for decades a hub of the city's powerful, passionate Cuban-American community.
This is your home. These are your people.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, growing up.
I guess I always grew up knowing that I would have chances to do things my parents didn't have a chance to do.
Rubio's parents came to America from Havana in 1959, just after Fidel Castro's revolution. His father, orphaned at 12, was a bartender, his mom a hotel housekeeper. They raised their 4 children with the fierce patriotism that is a hallmark of the Miami Cubans.
Do you ever feel, given your upbringing, a minority?
I've never felt, no, I always felt like an American. You know, I'm proud of my heritage, but I've always felt like I don't ever remember feeling like there's something that was impossible for me. My parents never raised us to be victims or feel victimized, and never taught us that because our last name ended in a vowel, there were things we couldn't accomplish.
Arizona's new immigration law. If you lived in Arizona, do you think it's likely that you might get pulled over, demanded of your identification?
I don't know. The people in Arizona are scared. And it's very easy for someone in some air-conditioned studio in New York to criticize Arizona. But the people there are scared.
Rubio's all-American traditionalism, he's even first base coach for his son's T-ball team, helped endear him to Tea Party activists. At the heart of his campaign has been his ferocious opposition to President Obama's economic policies. And Charlie Crist was vulnerable, supporting the stimulus in an appearance with the president and backstage that day with Nightline.
You sure this man is a Republican, sir?
Oh, well, I think he's very sure. And look, he's made some tough decisions.
Today, too many politicians embrace Washington's same old broken ways.
You use that picture constantly against him. You like that.
Well, I think the picture reminds people of what it was he was embracing, and that is a failed economic policy that's been bad for Florida and bad for our country. Even as we speak, Florida has its highest unemployment rate in its history. The stimulus has failed.
Do you think Barack Obama is a socialist?
Well, I think he has a much healthier, or I should say a much more enthusiastic belief in government's ability to generate economic growth than I do and than most of us do.
So he's not a socialist?
Well, let me tell you what he is. He is not a believer in the free enterprise system.
Like most Republicans, Rubio says he's deeply concerned with the growth of government and the national debt, but also like many Republicans, he makes exceptions.
The Medicare prescription drug benefit passed by President Bush in a Republican Congress was the largest government entitlement in 40 years. It blew a $7.2 trillion unfunded liability hole in the federal budget.
Do you think that President Bush and the Republican Party did not believe in the free enterprise system?
Well, ultimately, those are two separate issues. You're talking about growth and spending.
How would you pay for it?
Well, ultimately, by growing your economy.
There's nothing free enterprise about the government paying for prescription drugs. That is a classic liberal approach.
But those are programs that have been paid and are in place today. You cannot go to someone who's 65 or 70 years of age and tell them, this program that you retired relying on is now being pulled out from underneath you.
As he squares off against the newly independent Crist and Democrat Meek, Rubio is reportedly under federal investigation for allegations that he used his Republican Party credit card to pay for personal expenses when he was Speaker of the Florida House. Everything from fixing his minivan to plane tickets for his wife, even the Apple online store.
So you never used it for personal expenses or reasons?
Never on purpose, always inadvertently, or someone else had filed it or what have you, someone else had used it like a travel agent.
What mistakes did you make, do you think, looking back?
Well, we certainly would be more careful in hindsight about how it would look like 3 years down the road.
No wonder. Hardly anyone thought Marco Rubio would be where he is today, the certain nominee of the Republican Party for U.S. Senator from Florida. And perhaps the next big political thing.